Hello, my name is Leah Rempel, and welcome to this presentation on agenda setting, the map to therapeutic change. In this video, we'll explore the 7 steps of CBT agenda setting as outlined by Kennerley, Kirk, and Westbrook 2017, while also evaluating 2 recorded examples of how this skill is used in session. I have linked the videos below for your review and reference. This presentation will be a map metaphor, as research suggests that generating metaphors through deliberate analysis enhances conceptual understanding and retention, making the map motif not only a creative choice, but an academically grounded tool for deepening both my learning and the listener's engagement with CBT agenda setting. Let's set course. Just like any seasoned explorer would never wander without a map and tools, CBT sessions are structured with a clear route, a collaborative agenda, and each step is a guidepost. On this journey, our tools include a review of the week, setting the agenda collaboratively, prioritization, managing time, bridge to the today's session, and discussion with a final summary and transition opportunity. These do not have to be done in order. These steps are not arbitrary, though. They're grounded in decades of empirical practice and theory. Kennerley et al., 2017. Let's cross the bridge in today's therapy session and its agenda, shall we? The first item is what Kennerley et al. Call the review of events since the previous session. This step functions as a bridge, helping both therapist and client reorient it to the therapeutic process and reconnect emotionally and cognitively with their goals. It allows us to gauge continuity, progress, and unresolved issues. While it can be tempting to rush this step, especially when there's a lot on the client's mind, it offers an essential therapeutic checkpoint. Castanagua et al. Emphasize that revisiting prior content contributes to the strength and warmth of the therapeutic relationship. This sense of being remembered and valued builds trust, a cornerstone of effective CBT. In the Grande video, this step was present but brief. The therapist moved quickly into mood check territory. In contrast, the Qualia video revisited this previous session explicitly, inviting deeper reflection on what had worked or not worked, which I found a bit more effective. The bridge is an ongoing process through the agenda setting process that involves all the following steps. Mood check. Every journey starts with us taking stock of terrain, and in CBT, this means checking the client's current emotional state. Mood checks offer both therapist and client the bridge from the last session to the present moment, and Kennerley et al. Describes this step as essential for reorientating the therapeutic alliance and ensuring safety and relevance. A mood check may include open-ended questions, numerical ratings, or a structured assessment like a PHQ-9. This isn't just a polite inquiry, it offers an evidence-based snapshot of the client's present emotional state and their progress. In both videos reviewed, this step was addressed early and with care. The Grande therapist asked plainly, "How has your mood been lately?" While the Qualia therapist used a 1 to 10 scale, allowing the client to self-assess. Although different in style, both ensured the client's emotional status was brought into view before venturing further. From a best practice standpoint, this step ensures the client feels seen and also flags any clinical concerns before proceeding. Okamoto et al. A well-conducted mood check can highlight therapeutic gains, risk factors, or shifts in functioning that may redirect the session. Just as a traveler looks back to assess where they've been and how far they've come, CBT therapists and clients review the homework assigned in the previous session. Homework serves a dual purpose. It builds continuity and reinforces skill application beyond the session. Sperry and Sperry, 2018. Its review communicates that the client's effort matter and informs adjustments to therapeutic strategies. In both examples, the therapist took time to engage with this step. Grande asked for a verbal reflection. How did that week go for you? The client responded in detail, and the therapist offered validation. Qualia's therapist used a written sheet on a whiteboard, guiding the client through each section. This added structure seemed to help the client self-evaluate and organize his thoughts. Kennerley et al. Note that reviewing homework in detail increases follow-through and engagement. It's also an opportunity to collaboratively reframe any setbacks as part of the learning process, not failure, but field notes from the trail. Now that we've crossed the bridge, it's time to chart our course. Setting the agenda collaboratively is the heart of a CBT session, and it's the clearest map-making moment. Kennerley et al. Stress that collaboration here enhances client agency and direction. Therapists invite the clients to share priorities, clarify expectations, and suggest discussion topics. Both therapist and client are working toward mutually agreed priorities so that the session has structure, purpose, and transparency. Grande's style here was slightly more therapist-led. He proposed topics based on homework review and then asked if that felt right. In contrast, the Leah therapist asked, "What's important for us to talk about today?" and used a visual board to co-create the list. This gave the client visible ownership over the process. According to Okamoto et al., this process strengthens the working alliance because it reflects mutual respect. The client feels heard, and the therapist offers guidance without over-empowering. Regardless of method, this step ensures both parties are aligned on the day's terrain. And just like any journey, adjusting the course mid-session is easier when you've agreed on that destination. Like using a compass, this step orients the session's direction, choosing the most important destination before setting off. Prioritization is a key to therapeutic focus. Without it, even the most collaborative agenda can become overloaded, leaving the session fragmented or rushed. In CBT, focus equals depth. Prioritizing helps us avoid superficial coverage of too many issues. Okamoto and Kanzantis suggest that unclear prioritization can lead to alliance ruptures when clients feel their main concerns are sidelined or misjudged. This step requires both empathy and structure. Kennerley et al. Highlight this time to confirm readiness and gain agreement on the path ahead. In both sessions, this handoff was smooth, but stylistically different. Grande's transition was verbal and structured, and Qualia therapist used visual confirmation and language that reinforced collaboration. Next on our journey, we encounter the ruler in a CBT Adventures kit. Time management. According to Kennerley et al., structure is fundamental to CBT, and it's the therapist's role to balance the session's flow with time-bound realism. Managing time is not about cutting off the client. It's about respecting the purpose of the agenda and setting a collaborative pace that stays focused, productive, and goal-oriented. Okamoto et al. Emphasize that respecting time boundaries fosters trust and accountability, especially when sessions cover difficult or activating material. When time overruns or as mismanagement occur frequently, clients may feel anxious or invalidated. In the Qualia video, the therapist clearly signaled when they were moving on and ensured pacing throughout. This gave the session a contained, intentional feel. Grande, in contrast, appeared a little less structured, but the session felt conversational. Time boundaries weren't made explicit, which may reduce clarity or predictability for some clients. Just like real navigation, checking your compass is useful, but knowing how far you've come and how far you have to go is what ensures what you actually reach the treasure. Our final step in the agenda setting phase acts as the trail marker to begin the session and the route that was decided upon. The summary and transition allows both therapist and client to review what was accomplished and what still lies ahead. Kennerley et al. Emphasize this step as vital for reinforcing collaboration, clarifying direction, and promoting momentum. In the Grande video, this was brief but effective. The Qualia therapist embedded micro-summaries throughout, though, creating a sense of cohesion. Ending the session with clarity is an ethical and strategic act. It reduces the chance of dropout, confusion, or lost gains between sessions. As Parpotis notes, predictability and consistency are especially valuable in CBT, where structure itself becomes part of the therapeutic holding. It's also a subtle form of accountability. Clients know where the session is heading, and they're reminded that we're in this together. A clear transition signals intentionality. It confirms that we are not just meandering through a landscape of issues, but actively hiking towards change. These 7 agenda-setting steps form the essential landmarks on our therapeutic map. When followed with structure, collaboration, and care, they help ensure that each session stays on course, navigating not only where the client has been, but where they're ready to go next. Before we examine how 2 different therapists charted this path, it's worth remembering. A map is only as useful if we know how to read it, and if we're willing to revise our route when the terrain changes. Using our metaphor, we'll explore how each therapist engaged with or overlooked the tools in their clinical toolkit. Which parts of the map did they follow? Where did they detour? And most importantly, what can we learn from their strengths, missteps, and stylistic differences as we shape our own approach to agenda setting? Here we have the strengths. Both therapists emphasize structure and collaboration, though they express these principles in distinct ways. Grande demonstrated clarity and pacing through verbal prioritization and empathetic tone, while the Qualia therapist excelled in visual engagement and proactively invited feedback to deepen that rapport. This Venn diagram captures the strengths each therapist demonstrated during this agenda setting. By comparing both styles, we see where CBT principles were effectively upheld. In the Qualia video, one standout strength was the dynamic and collaborative nature of the agenda setting process. His brief explanation of the agenda's purpose supports Neem's argument that clients benefit from knowing the why behind each element of theory, a key facet of culturally responsive care. Items were revisited fluidly throughout the session, and client agreement was consistently sought, an approach that Kennerley et al. Highlight as foundational to therapeutic collaboration. The therapist's posture, warm tone, and enthusiasm, despite standing, reflected an emotionally attuned presence, echoing Constangue's emphasis on the mutative power of relational warmth. According to Okamoto and Kanitsis, ruptures in the therapeutic alliance often arise not from disagreement, but from lack of feedback opportunities. The Qualia therapist explicitly invited feedback about the agenda and therapeutic style. This wasn't just a good practice, it was a protective factor for the working alliance. Grande's strengths lay in his structured pacing and clear rationale. He modeled a traditional CBT session with fidelity, which can enhance psychological safety through predictability, help clients understanding what to expect. The therapist was able to use hypothesis testing, inquiry, to determine the main root cause outside of the others, based on the client's further examination when he recognized multiple directional pulls from the client. What I would have assumed to be relational problems ended up being overwhelmed with school assignments, according to the client, as the root destabilizing symptom. Shared strengths include respectful tone, rapport building, and a general adherence to the structure. Both videos illustrated that agenda setting is not just procedural, it's relational, and as Okamoto et al. Point out, effective agenda setting is both cognitive strategy and alliance building moment. In therapy, just like in navigation, detours and blind spots are inevitable. This Venn diagram reflects some of the key weaknesses observed in both videos, helping us sharpen our awareness of potential pitfalls in practice. Starting with Grande's approach, a noticeable weakness was the rigidity of his tone. While professionally composed, the session felt a little overly structured, leaving little room for warmth or flexibility. Constangue note that such flatness can weaken the therapeutic bond. Additionally, Grande rarely sought client input when agenda setting, moving without as many collaborative checkpoints as I would have liked to have seen. For Qualia, although the therapist demonstrated high engagement, their physical stance, standing while the client remained seated, may have reinforced a subtle power imbalance. Even with a friendly tone, the teacher-student dynamic was visually reinforced, which could unintentionally disrupt the goal of shared decision-making. A shared limitation was the absence of culturally informed care. Neither video included questions or prompts related to the client's identity, social context, or values. As Neem and Collins argue, CBT must be adapted to reflect lived experience and systemic factors, not just symptom checklists. Failing to address culture, worldview, or intersectionality risks diminish the client's voice and reinforces a one-size-fits-all model. This oversight might remind us that even when the map is followed step by step, we can still miss important landmarks, even if we don't widen our lens to include the full human context of the therapeutic journey. This slide offers a visual comparison of the therapeutic maps followed by Grande and Qualia. While both journey through familiar CBT territory such as mood check-ins, collaborative agenda setting, and rapport building, the routes often differ in tone, style, and emphasis. They do have warm tones and consistent pacing, which are also hallmarks of effective CBT as described by Kennerley and Okamoto. However, Grande's approach leans more towards structured verbal guidance and cognitive reframing, with a focus on internal processes and clear pacing. In contrast, the Qualia therapist emphasizes psychoeducation, feedback loops, and visual tools like writing the agenda out to enhance transparency and collaboration. This side-by-side view reinforces a key takeaway. There's no single route to effective agenda setting. The therapist's task is to choose the most responsive path for the client in front of them and adapt when the terrain shifts. As a future CBT therapist, I see myself as a map maker who blends structure with curiosity, charting the terrain alongside my clients, not for them. My preferred style aligns closely with Qualia therapist, collaborative, fluid, and client-focused. Like a compass, I use structure to orient the session, but always remain open to recalibration based on the client's pace and needs. I'm able to integrate both visual and verbal tools, recognizing that learning and engagement vary across clients. Metaphors, whiteboards, and handouts will become part of my toolkit to accommodate diverse processing styles, Overman and Wynn. I think this is apparent in metaphorically embedded presentation today. At the same time, I believe agenda setting carries ethical weight. As Kennerley et al. Suggest, it's not merely a structural task, it's a clinical contract that helps prevent sessions from becoming unfocused or therapist-led. I also recognize my own traits, warm, excitable, and playful, which can be therapeutic strengths, but must be balanced with a measured tone and attunement to client effect. This requires intentional self-regulation and ongoing client feedback. In reflecting on the video demos, I especially appreciated how Qualia therapist revisited the agenda and mood throughout the session, offering flexibility while preserving structure. His transparency and openness to feedback created a tone of mutual respect and psychological safety, aligning well with what Okamoto and Kennerley describe as rupture prevention strategies in CBT. My future sessions will aim to be structured, yet human, directive, yet dialogic, built on a map co-drawn with the client, not simply just handed to them. Let's now discuss some common difficulties, one of which I anticipate is over-enthusiasm, trying to cover too much ground in one session. While passion can energize therapy, it can also lead to a scattered focus and agenda overload. Kennerley et al. Caution against this hopping between topics as it limits depth and cohesion. My excitement, especially when clients express insight, could tempt me to pivot away from agreed priorities. To stay grounded, I'll use visual tools like printed or digital agendas and pause mid-session to realign. Like a troll guarding a narrow bridge, my enthusiasm must be tempered to avoid detouring from meaningful progress. Another challenge is setting clear priorities when clients bring up multiple concerns. Without structure, sessions can lose direction. In the Grande video, vague agenda setting made collaboration feel more therapist-led than shared. I plan to address this with focused, client-centered prompts such as, if we could only tackle one thing today, what would feel most helpful? This keeps the agenda grounded in client voice while avoiding diffusion. Like a compass at a fork in the road, prioritization helps ensure we don't wander off path before the work has even begun. A third difficulty is unintentionally minimizing client feedback, especially when time is tight. In both videos, therapists occasionally advance the agenda without fully checking the client's readiness or preferences. To avoid this, I will build explicit feedback moments and use motivational interviewing techniques to explore engagement. Feedback isn't optional. It's the map legend that helps decode where we've been and where we're going. Silence or rushing past a client's voice, no matter how warm or structured we are, risks muffling the most vital compass we have, the client's lived experience. After all, they are the experts of their own life. Overall, my strategy is to treat agenda setting as both structure and relationship, a tool to scaffold safely while still being flexible enough to shift course if the client's emotional weather changes mid-session. Here's a few more strategies, because even seasoned adventurers need checkpoints. When agenda setting hits rough terrain, we don't need to forge ahead alone. Instead, we can rely on our 4 core strategies, our compass tools grounded in evidence and clinical best practice. First, supervision. Kennerley et al. Highlight how supervision offers a reflective space to review cases, unearth therapist blind spots, and explore why collaboration may be faltering. Like a spyglass at a lookout, it helps us regain perspective. Second, client education. Sperry and Sperry emphasize that clients may be unfamiliar with therapy structures. Explaining that agenda setting is a shared roadmap, not a therapist-imposed checklist, helps build transparency and trust. This was well demonstrated in the Qualia video, as he mentioned their work with psychoeducational tools. Third, written agendas. Offer a visual grounding. Kennerley et al. Argue that seeing the session outline reduces confusion, encourages client input, and prevents aimless wandering. And finally, flexibility. A good agenda bends before it breaks. Detours can hold just as much therapeutic value as a planned route. Adaptability, not rigidity, ensures that work remains client-centered and alive. Sometimes clients stumble. That doesn't mean they're lost, it means they're human. In CBT, relapse isn't failure. It's anticipated terrain and accidents happen, and when it comes, our role shifts from navigator to guide, helping the client read the map for themselves. In the later phases of therapy, agenda setting evolves into relapse management planning. This includes revisiting progress, stress testing strategies, and creates a personal blueprint for future obstacles. Kennerley et al. Describes this as building a blueprint for action to promote autonomy. The ultimate goal is to support the client in becoming their own agenda setter, confident in adjusting course when life throws unexpected detours. Even if they trip again, they'll know how to get up, consult their map, and continue the journey with tools in hand and purpose in heart. Even the most well-drawn map becomes meaningless if it ignores the landscape. Agenda setting doesn't happen in a vacuum. It's shaped by language, worldview, and social context. CBT may be structured, but it must never be a one-size-fits-all. Collins, 2018, encourages us to practice with cultural responsiveness and social justice in mind. This means critically examining who created the map and whose paths might be missing. Agenda setting should reflect not just therapeutic priorities, but the cultural, spiritual, and identity-based values of each client. This includes asking about language preferences and culturally meaningful metaphors. Respecting collectivist values, where personal goals may reflect family or community needs. Checking assumptions about productivity, time, or emotional expression. Integrating religious, spiritual, and symbolic forms of meaning-making when appropriate to anchor sessions in the client's worldview. When done with care, agenda setting becomes more than a strategy. It becomes a co-created compass that honors complexity, centers the client, and fosters genuine therapeutic alliance. Neither video demonstrated this in action, and this is one thing that I want to bring forward with my own practice. As we reach the summit of our journey through agenda setting, one truth stands out. Structure and spontaneity must walk side by side. Agenda setting in CBT is not just a checklist, it's a clinical skill, an ethical responsibility, and collaboration in real time. As Kennerley et al. Reminds us, it provides a scaffolding for purposeful work while remaining flexible enough to meet clients where they are. It's a co-created path, one that invites the client into meaningful participation, balancing therapeutic focus with responsiveness, and respects the client's autonomy and cultural identity. Collins and Neame. With curiosity as our compass and cultural humility as our guide, we move beyond simply following a map. We help make it matter, all the way to the summit of therapeutic change. Thank you for joining me on this therapeutic trek through the practice and art of agenda setting in CBT. If you'd like to explore further, you'll find the original demonstration videos and all referenced resources linked in the video description below. Until next time, may your sessions be structured, your compass be steady, and your curiosity remain alive.